Good evening, and right before we dive into the main story, I wanted to quickly mention that we are currently running a July 4th special for people wanting to try Epic TV, our awesome no-censorship video platform, where, I should mention, I publish 2 exclusive episodes every single week that are not here on YouTube. And so, if you'd like to check it out, the July 4th link will be right there at the very top of the description box. And now, let's dive into the main topic. These right here are internal emails from the CDC that we at the Epic Times were able to obtain through a Freedom of Information request. And as you can see from the documents, which are up on your screen right now, they are somewhat redacted. In fact, one of the pages is completely redacted. However, based on what we could read, it turns out that 2 full weeks went by between when CDC officials learned of the 9th death from a rare blood clotting condition linked to the Johnson & Johnson vaccine to when they actually revealed this fact to the public. Specifically, these documents show that officials within the CDC, they confirmed late last year, meaning in December, that a person died from a rare blood clotting condition after receiving a COVID vaccine, specifically a brand of the COVID vaccine that had previously been already linked with an increased risk of blood clotting, specifically the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. However, they did not alert the public about this fact for over 2 weeks, meaning that for 2 weeks, Americans went about their business as usual without knowing this fact. Now, let me break down for you specifically what these emails said. The first email was sent on December the 2nd of 2021 by Dr. Tom Shimabukuro, who, for your reference, is the Deputy Director of the CDC's Immunization Safety Office. And the subject line of his email was, quote, 9th TTS death following Janssen. And now just to pause here for a super quick moment. TTS, which stands for thrombosis with thrombocytopenia syndrome, is a fairly severe condition which presents itself as a combination of blood clots as well as a drop in platelet levels. And what's interesting to note is that TTS is actually a fairly new syndrome that was only identified recently after the rollout of the vaccines. In fact, TTS also goes by 2 other names. It's also called vaccine-induced prothrombotic immune thrombocytopenia, or VIPIT for short, or you can also call it vaccine-induced immune thrombotic thrombocytopenia, or VITT for short. However, regardless of what you actually call it, and despite the fact that it happens in a very small portion of the population, when it does occur, TTS is extremely serious. And typically, people experience the symptoms of TTS sometime between 4 and 42 days after getting vaccinated, with the symptoms varying wildly depending where in the body the thrombosis actually occurred. And so, for instance, here are some of the potential symptoms. You have cerebral venous thrombosis, which manifests as persistent headaches, vision changes, seizures, confusion, or even potentially a coma. You have splanchnic vein thrombosis, which can manifest as abdominal pain. You have pulmonary embolus, which can manifest as chest pain, as well as shortness of breath. You have deep vein thrombosis, which can result in leg pain, redness, and/or swelling. You have arterial ischemia, which can lead to symptoms of a heart attack, such as chest pain and shortness of breath. And then lastly, you have thrombocytopenia, which can lead to bruising, rashes, as well as general bleeding. And it's worth mentioning that no matter how TTS actually manifests, it's very serious, and it can lead to serious long-term disability or even death if it's not recognized and treated in a timely manner, which appears to be exactly what's happened here, because this is how the email actually continues. Quote, we have confirmed a 9th TTS death following Janssen vaccination. Then, as you can see, something there is redacted, and after that it says this, quote, for your situational awareness, a TTS update is planned for the December 6th VAST call. See summary below. But then, of course, as you can see, these summary is redacted. Then, on the next day, which is on Friday, December the 3rd, another email was sent out regarding this case. This one came from Dr. Amanda Cohen, who was previously the Chief Medical Officer for the National Center for Immunization and Respiratory Diseases. And it looks like what she was doing in her email was flagging this 9th death to her higher-ups over at the CDC, evidenced by the fact that her email was addressed to Dr. Rochelle Walensky, the head of the CDC, as well as to Dr. Barbara Mahone, who was the head of the Enteric Epidemiological Branch Department over at the CDC. And here's what her email said, again, written on December the 3rd, quote, Barbara and Rochelle, see below, information on a 9th completely tragic death from TTS. Then you have something redacted, followed by this, quote, this death will be mentioned in the paper that is likely going to be published in Annals of Internal Medicine in January. Then, just about 6 minutes after this email was sent, Dr. Rochelle Walensky replied by simply saying this, quote, many thanks for letting us know. Any tragic case. And then this thread actually went cold for 2 days, likely because of the weekend, after which a woman by the name of Abigail Tumpy, who is the Director of Communication Science within the Epidemiology Department, she wrote an email on Monday morning. However, this email is largely redacted. We don't know too much about what it says. We only know this. It says this, quote, Rochelle wanted to follow up on this chain. And then pretty much everything below that is redacted, followed by Please let us know if you have concerns. And then later on that same day, Dr. Rochelle Walensky forwarded that message to another colleague named Sherry Berger, who is the chief of staff over at the CDC, but that email is completely redacted. All we can see is the letter R, meaning that it was from Dr. Rochelle Walensky. And so that is it. There is nothing else to this thread. Now, taken at face value, there is nothing wrong with this exchange. It all appears to be on the up and up, except for the fact that these emails were not public. People did not know that this was happening. And as I mentioned previously, we only obtained them a few days ago through a Freedom of Information request. And so while this conversation, of course, seems rather benign, there is the lingering question of why exactly it took 2 full weeks between the time that officials confirmed the 9th TTS death that was linked to the Johnson & Johnson vaccine to when they actually revealed this fact to the rest of the public. In fact, here's a timeline of the CDC's public communications on this particular matter. Back in April of 2021, after 6 women took the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, experienced TTS, and 3 of them having died, U.S. health officials recommended a nationwide pause on the administration of the Janssen vaccine. However, that pause was very short-lived, since within about a week, the CDC lifted it after determining that the Johnson vaccine was, as they said, safe and effective. Now, in the following several months, TTS was not discussed much by the agency, despite the fact that the CDC later reported that 5 additional deaths occurred before August the 31st. That announcement came sometime in mid-October of 2021 when Dr. Shimabukuro said that 5 people in total had died that they knew of. That there was again several months of silence on the matter until December the 14th, when the FDA urged healthcare workers to stop administering the Johnson shot to people with certain conditions because of a risk of TTS. Then, 2 days after that, on December the 14th, Dr. Isaac C., who is another CDC official, he finally informed the public during a virtual meeting that anyone could tune into that 9 deaths had occurred post-vaccination due to TTS. And so, for one, it's not exactly clear when the CDC learned about the 6th, 7th, and 8th deaths, since they never publicly discussed it. And then secondly, it's not exactly clear why it took them 14 full days between when this internal email was sent out to when they finally warned the public about it. Now, upon reviewing all this information, we here at the Epoch Times, we, of course, reached out to the CDC for comment, and they got back to us saying this, quote, "For all reports classified as serious, which includes deaths after vaccination, the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, within 1 business day of receiving the report, requests all available medical records, including death certificates and autopsy reports for the reported patient. For some reports, including some potential reports of TTS, consultation with experts to determine if the report meets a standardized case definition is performed. Regarding verified reports of TTS where the patient died, these processes occurred during their usual timeframes." And so the implication there is for a case of TTS, a 14-day window is within the allotted time frame. Although that would not fully explain why the 6th, 7th, and 8th deaths were never publicly reported, but that's another matter. Regardless, after December the 14th, when the CDC made the public announcement, it would take them another 5 months for the drug regulators over at the FDA to officially restrict use of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine nationwide due to this risk of blood clotting, which of course happened back on May 5th of this year. If you'd like to go through these emails for yourself, they're not very long, and given the fact that there's so many redactions, it'll take you just a few minutes to read through them. I'll throw the links to the PDF versions down into the description box below this video for you to check out. And also, I'd love to know your thoughts on the matter. Do you think that 14 days is a reasonable time frame for the CDC to not reveal this information? And what do you make of the timeline of their reporting, the one that we went through earlier? Do you think they reported these TTS complications in a timely manner? And do you think it's reasonable that they never reported the 6th, 7th, and 8th death? They only reported the 9th death, and the one before that was the 5th death, and we just have to assume that there were 3 others that were unreported. I'd love to know your thoughts. Please leave them in the comments section below. I'll be reading them later tonight. And also, while you're making your way down there to the comment section, consider taking a small detour and smashing that like button so this video can be shared out to ever more people. And also, if you haven't already, consider smashing that subscribe button as well. That we can get this type of honest news content delivered directly into your YouTube feed every single weekday. And now let's... Oh, sorry. What's this? Roman, it's me. Of course it's Sekur, because we use the Sekur app, which is the sponsor of today's episode, as well as an awesome email and message service provider that actually cares about your privacy. Now listen, it's no big secret that our data is being mined and remined all the time. In fact, there was a recent study that was published in the year 2020, which found that 155 million Americans, likely including you and me, have suffered some form of data breach. And frankly, that's only what's publicly known. However, all those past problems with privacy issues and data mining, well, that can be an issue of the past, because moving forward, you can use the Sekur app, which both your messages, your emails, and your phone calls can remain private. That's because they have their servers and their data centers located in Switzerland instead of in the US or China or Russia. And why does that matter? Because Switzerland has the strictest data privacy laws in the entire world, and they are not subject to the intrusive Cloud Act. Now, what I love the most about the Sekur app is that they don't collect my data, they don't mine my data, they don't mine the data and phone numbers of my friends and family. Everything is private. And best of all, at least in my opinion, this does not work with your big tech email provider just because it is not secure. And so check it out. You can head on over to sekur.com, and if you use promo code Roman, you can get 25% off. And frankly, their rates are not even that expensive. It only starts with $5 for the messenger and $10 for the email and messenger combo. And best of all, they offer a 7-day free trial. And now lastly, as I mentioned on a previous episode, but I believe it's pertinent today as well, over on Epic TV, we just published a phenomenal interview between myself and the president of Open the Books, which is a government watchdog group. And in that interview, he explained to us how his organization has successfully obtained documents from the NIH, showing that in a 10-year span of time, government agents like Dr. Fauci, Dr. Collins, and so on received somewhere between $350 to $400 million in royalty payments. Here's a trailer for that interview.
$350 million to $400 million worth of these third-party royalties were paid. We don't know who paid them. They redacted, they blanked out the company paying the royalty. They also redacted the payment amount to the individual scientist, and they redacted the invention, the number of the patent or the license number. So why are they redacting information? NIH needs to come clean with the American people. We need to be able to follow the money. We need to be able to see the gory details.
If you'd like to check out that awesome interview in its glorious entirety, as well as all the other great content over on Epic TV, you can find a link in the description box below. And by the way, I'll mention again that now is a great time to try Epic TV if you've been a bit on the fence, because we are now running an Independence Day sale. So you can celebrate July 4th by declaring your independence from big tech censorship by trying Epic TV. The link will be, again, right there at the very top of the description box. And then until next time, I'm your host, Roman from the Epic Times. Stay informed, and most importantly, stay free.